Good afternoon to all. Today's my presentation topic is American multiculturalism and the literary fight against racial constructs. Here is my table of content. My research question is have African American and Latin writer used literature to challenge cultural construct of race, promote a multicultural identity in the United States. And my hypothesis is how have African American and Latin writer use literature to challenge cultural construct of race and promote a multicultural identity United States. Here is the introduction that American multiculturalism is the idea that the United States is made up of a diverse culture, ethnic, and racial group, and that is the diversity should be respected and celebrated. As a national built by immigration and influenced by many cultures, the US promote the coexistence of different tradition and identity. While this diversity is seen as a strength, challenge like racism and inequality still exists. Multiculturalism encourage inclusion, equal opportunity, and mutual respect among all communities. History and major period. So American multiculturalism is a crucial topic explored within the field of cultural study, and key historical event providing concept like What's Race riot in 1965, the passage of the Civil Rights Act 1964, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And the shifting demographic and the concept of race is by the year 2015, the United States is a commonly predicted to be a majority minority population. So America has a vast culture of multiculturalism that many people come to Africa, and that's how they that's how their population increase as a multicultural. Race as a culture construct. So social scientists increasingly view race as a construct invaded by whites to assign social status and privilege. In 1972, Harvard University study found that most genetic difference exists within racial group, not between them. And Henry Louis Gates described race as a dangerous trope. And despite its arbitrary nature, race remains a critical feature of American life, acting as both greatest source of social conflict and richest source of cultural development. So first, I will discuss the African American writer and culture. So prominent writer of 20th century to modern novelist Toni Morrison and Ralph Ellison argue Black culture is central to understanding American culture as a whole. When we see literary characteristic of American multiculturalism, then folkloric view of humankind, double consciousness, a concept given by W.B. Du Bois, use of irony, parody, tragedy, and bitter comedy, inventing language and elevation of Black folk tradition. And historical milestone are Harlem Renaissance and Toni Morrison's great contribution. So first major writer is Ralph Ellison. His two work Invisible Man and Shadow and Act. And Ralph Ellison explored the theme of African American struggle for identity and reconciliation through the lens of a double conscious concept mentioned early. He shows how Black individual navigate being both Black and America. Then Harriet E. Wilson, her famous novel Our Nig, and she focused on racial hypocrisy in the Free North. Then Linda Brennett, her famous novel Incident in the Life of a Slave Girl, and focus on the sexual exploitation, motherhood, and moral dignity amid the brutality and hypocrisy of slavery. Then Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, her famous novel is Lola Lori. She highlight the racial afflict, women's empowerment, and moral reform. Then Charles Weddell Chestnut, his famous work, The Mero Tradition, and he also focused on colorism and social passing, exposing the hypocrisy of racism and post-slavery America, majorly highlight in his work. Then Richard Wright, famous writer. His work Black Boy and Natives are contribute much in the American literature, and he focus on racism, oppression, and search for identity. And his work depict violence, alienation, and resistance also. Then the contemporary writer is Toni Morrison. Her famous novel Beloved, The Bluest Eyes, and Song of Solomon. And she insight into the painful life of her black protagonists as they confront racism in all its form in American society. When other writer are exploring the trauma or racism or crucial thing about time period, but Toni Morrison find a peace in her character from this all conflict. Then Latino writer. So the term Latino, Latina or Latino to indicate a broader sense of ethnicity among Spanish-speaking people in the United States. So major writer at Sandra Cinzers, her famous work, The House of Mango Tree, and she explore identity, gender, and cultural heritage, and Latin women navigating between Mexican and American world, that how Mexican world and American world collapse, and how women survive. Then the Robert Rodriguez, he made two films, El Miraki and Spy Kids. El Miraki is the old one, released in 1992, and Spy Kids is released in 2001. And he also focused on Mexican American culture with the theme of justice, individual, and resistance. Then Rudolfo Anaya, his famous work Bless Me Ultima. He explore identity, spirituality, and blending of Mexican and indigenous tradition, emphasizing the search for harmony, like Toni Morrison. And in this work, Bless Me Ultima, he focused on impact of World War II in Mexico. Then Oscar Zeta Acosta, his masterpiece, The Revolt of the Cockroach People, published in 1973, and explore Chicano identity, one movement that prominent in this time period, social justice and rebellion, highlighting the struggle against racism. Then Richard Brogrigs, his famous work Hunger of Memory, and focus on personal ambition and family loyalty. Maria Amparo Ruiz de Burton, she explored the struggle of Mexican American culture, legal injustice, and racial prejudice. Last one is the Josefina Nigel. Her work is a Mexican village and focus on bicultural identity. Then multiculturalism, a rhetorical strategy. So not every time multiculturalism celebrated by America, but at some level it has a diversity. So the use of diversity is a rhetorical strategy that sound neutral, but it fundamentally political. And culture is defined by the anti-discrimination struggle itself. Their literature is the means by which they demand a reconstruction of the American national identity, or unum means unity. And when we see this conflict in practical, so the case study from Amiri Baraka's poem, Somebody Blew Up America, it based on the domestic struggle in America, but his poem's name is Somebody Blew Up. So the homeland metaphor, Rosa uses the metaphor of homeland to show how the boundary of American identity become racialized, because this poem criticized by people. In conclusion, the African America and Latin author redefine race as a culture, then biological construct. So in this we find the two as a rhetoric of American literature and American literature worldwide. So here my resources, and now you are free to ask question.
My question is, in what way does the American multiculturalism challenging the American claim of the being melting pot in the cultures?
So, when we think about American multiculturalism global, then we consider as a melting pot. But as I discuss rhetoric of American multiculturalism, then there is a appropriate salad bowl, then a melting pot.
In what ways does Chonge's experience in Reluctant Fundamentalist reveal the limits of American multistructuralism after 9/11?
Okay, so when we come to the novel or movie Reluctant Fundamentalist, at that time, as I mentioned, the context of 1911 attack. So at that time, Changes is the victim of that incident, and before that, he appreciate for his economical or political contribution. But after that, every people try to suspect them, and he feel alienation. So that's how Genghis Khan revealed the limits of American multiculturalism after 1911 attack. Thank you, everyone.